Hello, my name is Dawne Fraser. I'm with Choice Empowerment Training, the founder since 1970. I do lots of inclusion workshops and leadership training, etc. What I'm talking about today is the equity accommodation model, and it generates an empowered equity communication dialogue. Equity inclusion language can be learned and facilitated by uniquely abled employers, employees, support agencies, educational and career development. I'd like to give you 3 examples of equity vocabulary definitions. Equity inclusion, to integrate and cooperate with each other together, seen and relating to the person first, then as situationally required, to the equity accommodations for the personal unique abilities. Vocabulary word 2, equity communication. Two-way communication, respecting and educating inclusion, access for all persons involved, for both employee and employer. Equity accommodations, modifications required to the environment or by the uniquely abled person to perform their activities of daily living, ADL, and work requirements. So at the job interview, equity accommodation now. I'll give an example. Thank you for this job interview. My name is Dawne Fraser, and I require 2 essential equity accommodations. First, 24/7, a medical mobility hearing service canine. And second, we would require sign language interpreting for detailed interviews or precise instructions. At times I may require a manual wheelchair access depending on the specific job demands. Know this, the descriptive language we use to describe each other has a profound impact on how we treat each other. Relate to the person first, not the disability. We all are uniquely abled. Dawne Fraser, 1970. The barriers. The essential social barrier is trying to upgrade an antiquated view and method of accessibility diversity, particularly with education, career, and employment. Required an equity inclusion language to transcend the existing communication barriers of proof and validation, explanation and justification, safety and security, are then guaranteed for the employee and employer's relationship, where the employers can become skillful to accept a new, uniquely abled employee based on their abilities. The solution is an equity, everyday equity inclusion language, learned and modeled by uniquely abled students, employment agencies, employees, and employers, learned in custom workshops for all uniquely abled individuals seeking careers and innovative employers. The custom workshops are designed to provide experiential learning and knowledge and the mastery of an empowering equity vocabulary. Also, there is a 5-point dialogue form specific for the employee and employer to apply equity language to design essential interview inclusion issues. To discuss essential interview inclusion issues of the job position's details, skills, assets, required and innovative ways the employee takes responsibility to model equity inclusion with other employees, thereby transcending the old paradigm on the spot, dissolving many of the employment barriers. I would like to give an example from the dialogue form question and answer for the employee and employer. It can be prompted by either the employee or the employer, whoever has the equity language model training during the interview. Accessible work dialogue forms. So I have two separate forms. You take them into your interview. You have one for yourself, and you can give one to the employer. Even if they've never seen it before, you'd be able to model, or vice versa. They could hand you that, and they would be able to guide you with it. Here's a couple of example questions. Number one, how might you consider making a more accessible work environment? This would be the employee asking the employer. How might you consider making a more accessible work environment? And you could suggest something. The employer might come up with an idea, and you can suggest something. You could offer a referral to federal or provincial grants. Modifications may increase access for more customers and clients. So you show the benefits of you being there and working, and how they would benefit by being more inclusive. Another question would be, how will you manage attitude issues that arise with your staff or clients or customers? And you could use equity language to discuss issues. You could educate staff to create more comfortable inclusion access. Now here's some employer questions examples. Question 1. What equity accommodations are required for you to complete the duties of this position? Employer could say, we do have some equity accommodations for another staff member. What additional ones might be needed? We can be specific after you see the work area. And then you both engage in your dialogue. Question number 5. These are example questions. How has your view of persons with unique abilities shifted with equity language? Utilizing this language made it easier to ask those uncomfortable questions. It provides a simple method of fully respecting and introducing you, and manage any attitudinal issues. Value communication skills and knowledgeable support for you provided for me and my staff. Now you will see a chart up on the screen, which is the equity empowerment chart that has been designed. And I'm going to explain it, and when we do, we read from the bottom up. I'll just say the title, and then we read from the bottom up. And you'll note on your chart that there will be the United Nations articles from the Human Rights Declaration. There will be some basic who, what, when, where, and why to put things in perspective, where we start. And then each step of the way, this is the basics that we need, and then how we work our way up to here. And if we use each step of it is utilizing the inclusion language. So while you're looking at the chart, Equity Work Inclusion Chart by Dawne Fraser. Equity empowerment, education, choices, employment, participation. And this equity participation is our compassionate humanity. And that's what we're working towards. But we need a new equity language to communicate that, to transcend. We can't try to improve the old. We have to just step beyond that to solve the problem. So there's human rights articles for work is Article 23.3, the right to work. The Human Rights Article 26.1.2.3 is education. They're referred to in the chart, which would be very relevant to yourselves. We require an equity inclusion language for an integrated quality of a contributing life. For proper equity participation, we all require equity inclusion. To actually participate, we require equity accommodations. To do our ADL, activities of daily living, and to work, to be educated and to work, we require an adequate, reliable, equity income. To educate medical professionals to understand the purpose of our medical description must be to identify our functional diversity, for equity, inclusion, participation. To be understood and live inclusion access, we all need the same equity language. We will surprise you with our diverse abilities. Remember, every person experiences losses of accessibility when too ill or injured or traumatized or isolated or giving birth or being born or uniquely abled or in our own turn for palliative care. So if we have the opportunity to have a discussion comparing the old language to the new language and realizing that it actually transcends the level of the problem. There's the problem. We've been trying for 50, 20, 70 years actually with the United Nations, with its Human Rights Declaration, and still the United Nations has declared even this year in a statement that it doesn't feel it has improved as much as it would have liked, and that the progress is slow. It's very important to understand, to solve a problem at this, we have to step above the problem, beyond the problem, to solve it. And so, and that this equity language simply does that. It's for all of us to be integrated together. Right now, this is the abled, and we're trying to integrate the uniquely abled or disabled. It's not working. And if we can't take the abled and integrate them with us very well because we don't have a common language, the abled have an incredible view and abilities within the world. We have a very inherent, incredible quality of wisdom and patience and perseverance, that our unique abilities have become virtues for us. So we've made them into that. We have to not try to force this integration like this. It's not going to work. We don't have the language, don't have the means. We haven't gone anywhere with it for 70 years. We need a new equity language so we can integrate together.